A liquidation sales event is a retail sale in which the contents and wholesale inventory of a business are being sold off. All types of business are liquidated, from restaurants to clothing shops to toy stores to electronic stores to supermarkets. There are two different ways that liquidation sales generally take place. One way is that liquidator sells the merchandise on behalf of the store owner or the landlord and then receives a commission based on the sales that are made during the sale. The second way is that the liquidator will buy out the entire contents and wholesale inventory of the store and then will sell the merchandise at a markup. It is important that you try to determine what kind of sale it is, since there will be a practical difference between those liquidation events. In the first event, the liquidator will not be as willing to reduce the prices until the end, since the liquidator will be paid on commission. The liquidator needs the wholesale merchandise to be sold at a higher price, so that his commission can add up. But in the second example, the liquidator makes his money on the difference between what he paid and what he will sell the wholesale products for. In the other words, the liquidator can reduce the price since his profits are based on the markup, not on percentage of the sales. In the first situation, the liquidator is under no pressure to sell all of the merchandise since he has no money invested in it. Yes, he does want to keep a good reputation of his business, services, so he will still try to sell as much as he can. But in the second situation, he wants to sell as much of the merchandise as possible since he spent money buying it. Any unsold wholesale inventory will offset the profits that he made on selling the rest of the products. When it comes to buying merchandise from a liquidator, you have two ways to get a great deal. One is to buy in bulk so that you can receive a volume-based discount. The more you buy, the more the liquidation company will be interested in giving you an amazing deal. For instance, let's say the liquidator is selling off 100 9-West dresses at 80% below the retail price. You are more likely to receive the best possible price if you are willing to purchase all 100 9-West dresses than if you only purchase a few pieces of clothing. The second way to get a great deal when buying from a liquidation company is by waiting until the last day of a sale. The last day, the liquidator knows that he needs to move out all the remaining inventory, otherwise it will remain unsold. Keep in mind that some liquidation companies will take any unsold inventory and include those products in their next sale. The risk of waiting until the last minute is that the best products will have been sold. For instance, if a dress boutique is being liquidated and there are Tahari dresses being sold at 90% below retail, they are likely to be sold out within the first few days. On the other hand, if by some chance some of those Tahari dresses are still left by the last day of the sale, you should be able to get them for even less than 90% below retail. One important piece of information that you should know is that liquidation companies are known to mix in their own products in the sale. I remember going to a liquidation sale for an electronic retail chain called the Wiz. I saw many music CDs by bands that I'm sure the Wiz never carried. Liquidators will take advantage of sales events to sell merchandise that they have in their warehouses, or will buy closeout products specifically with the intention of selling them at the sales. There have been some tremendous liquidation sales over the last few years, including for retailers such as Circuit City, Linus and Things, A&P Supermarkets, Radio Snack, Blockbuster, Borders, Brookstone, among many others. While these sales are excellent opportunities for retailers, flea market vendors, eBay sellers, Amazon sellers, and exporters. It is important to keep a few things in mind. You want to make sure that you are buying merchandise that is still in demand. You want to avoid obsolete models and styles, and you want to make sure that you really are paying the equivalent of a below wholesale price. For instance, there were media reports that states that the liquidation prices at the Sports Authority store closing sales were not that great. As a matter of fact, according to the media reports, many of the discounts that were available were equivalent to what could be found from other offline and online retailers. I would recommend that before you purchase any merchandise, you should approach the manager and request a lower price. You would be surprised at the extra discount that you can get on brand name apparel, electronics, designer shoes, and on other goods just by asking. Hilco Mercants, Gordon Brothers, Genco, Bestock Solutions, and Liquidation.com are some of the biggest liquidators in the USA. You can contact them to be notified of the businesses which they are liquidating merchandise on behalf of. One final note. Since you cannot return defective merchandise at these sales, you need to buy merchandise at the lowest possible prices to cover any merchandise which you won't be able to resell. I personally would prefer to focus on apparel, footwear, handbags, and other merchandise where the risk of not spotting a defect is minimal. Boxed electronics, on the other hand, would present a risk since you cannot inspect the contents of the box and you cannot try out the electronics to see if they work. Having said this, there are opportunities to make money by purchasing wholesale liquidation merchandise, whether you buy them by the piece or by the pallet. So, while this part of the industry has its challenges, the opportunities to make money can still be there. You are welcome to visit my Closeout warehouse in Brooklyn, New York, and I will be happy to show you all the Bello Closeout deals that I have available.